Hello again, friends. This is Dan here once again with another Bible topic, this time from the Old Testament. And this comes up in First Chronicles. Now, normally when I'm reading through the Old Testament, I'll read through First and Second Kings or First and Second Samuel. When I want to learn about the history of Israel and the kings of Israel, and later when it's divided of both Israel and Judah. Recently, though, I've been reading through First and Second Chronicles, and although there's a lot of lists and genealogies in there, there's some very interesting information also. First Chronicles 21, verse 21, verse 1 tells us that Satan incited David to have a census. But way before this happened, in Exodus 30, verse 12, God told Moses, when you take a census of the Israelites to count them, each one must pay the Lord a ransom for his life at the time he is counted. Then no plague will come on them when you number them. Well, why was God angry this time? Well, glad you asked. In the Got Questions article that I'll have a link below to, it says, a man only had the right to count or number what belonged to him. Well, Israel did not belong to David. Israel belonged to God. You see, it was up to God to command a census. And if David counted, he should only have done it at God's command, receiving a ransom along the way to atone for the counting. This is why God was angry again with Israel, and is also why David got conscience-stricken after he counted Israel. David knew it was wrong, and he begged God to take away the guilt of his sin, and you can read about that in 2 Samuel 24, verse 10. God takes very seriously how his human representatives present or sometimes misrepresent him here on earth. God says what he means and means what he says. He's holy, and he's the creator of all things, and he does have that right to set the rules, obviously. God was misrepresented at another time by Moses when they're in the wilderness, the first time he struck the rock for water for the people. But the second time he was commanded to speak to the rock. If he'd done so, that would have been a really good model for Christ's two comings. The first time coming and being wounded for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities, and striking the rock represented that. The second time would have represented when he comes back and he speaks a word, and that ends that battle at Armageddon and just does away with the Antichrist and the false prophet. But Moses did not do that, and instead he said, "Must we fetch water for you?" And God took him aside and says, "What do you mean we?" And as a result, Moses was not allowed to take the people into the promised land. He could look over from the mountain and look into the land, but he was not allowed to go into it. That job fell to Joshua. Now, God gave David, back to this story, he gave him 3 choices for punishment. 3 years of famine, 3 months of fleeing from his enemies, or 3 days of plague. And David chose the third, and the Lord then punished Israel with a plague that killed 70,000 men, all the way from Dan in the north down to Beersheba. David, by choosing this, was falling on God's mercy and chose a punishment that would possibly be the least severe. You can read about that. Please always check out the articles, because what I do is just promote what the experts are saying, and I'll have links to them. May God bless you as you do so.